Good morning and welcome to Coffee Morning. You have the pleasure of myself and Adam this morning, and we'll be with you right after Morning, Adam.
Morning.
How are you?
I've had enough of this storm now.
I was going to say, it's been a bit blowy overnight, hasn't it?
Just a little bit.
I think
I want a full night's sleep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you've had it a bit worse where you are than we've had it here, although it's still pretty windy and pretty noisy.
Yeah, at first I thought, it may be Kerry's snoring too loud, but no, I'm all right.
For people who are watching and don't know who we are, I'm the Human GPS, and I am in no way related to Adam Duval, the mental health warrior. And the Kerry that Adam is referring to is not me, it's his lovely wife.
Yeah, who's probably going to kill me after.
Yes. Good morning, Laurie. It's lovely of you to join us this morning. Hope you're well. Hope you had a good night. So we were going to be joined this morning by a lovely lady called Kay from Australia, but unfortunately she's not feeling 100% today. So she's decided to give it a miss for now, which is a wise choice, I think, because when it's important we listen to our bodies, isn't it? If we're not feeling 100%, it's important that we rest. We rest up. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Caroline. Yay.
They're all coming.
Yes, this is fantastic. We hope that you're all well and aren't experiencing too much disruption from this wonderful storm that we're having, or the number of storms that we seem to be having.
Storm Franklin.
New one, is it?
Yeah, Franklin.
Well, he can
do one.
Anyway, we're going to talk about all things spiritual this morning. And I mean, the idea of the whole point of having Kay on the show, and it is a shame that she can't make it this morning, but we totally understand. But we were going to talk about how spirits have helped us rise up. But I think we'll take a slightly different slant on it this morning, because we'll wait for Kay. We'll wait until she's feeling 100% and she can join in one of the broadcasts and actually have her show about what she wants to talk about. But it would be interesting to talk about all things spiritual this morning anyway.
Yeah.
Now I know it's a bit of a taboo topic for some people. Some people just don't believe in it, and that's absolutely fine. It is what it is. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that we are basically operated by energy. Right. So there's a source, that energy source within us that comes from somewhere, and as we know, you can't kill energy.
Nope.
So I grew up in a spiritual environment, or I grew up, should I say, being taught about spiritualism, and where we've all come from, and all sorts of wonderful lessons. So I'm curious to know, when and how did you first find out about spiritual side of things, Adam? What was your first impression?
I actually didn't believe in it. I thought it was all a big hoax, and I thought, you know what, I'll treat Kerry to, and this was a couple of years ago, where I tried a session surrounding crystals, and like crystals and meditation. and I thought, right, okay, I'll leave him alone just to do that, and I ended up going upstairs because I thought, no, I can't be a part of this. So say after they finished, I came downstairs and I saw Kerry in tears. I'm thinking, right, okay, there may be something to this, but I'm still not convinced. So she told me about her experience. I'm like, right, okay, I want to have a go at this, just to, because you always have to try something new once. So I thought, you know what, have a go. So that's exactly what I did a couple of weeks later, where Kerry put a YouTube video on. It was only on for about 22 minutes. And she got the crystals out. I laid flat on the floor as it advised me to. I was listening to it. I was focusing on my deep breathing. And she put all the crystals all where she needed to. And I thought, I need to be a part of this, because I felt different right afterwards. I really did. And I highly recommend it now.
Brilliant. Explain that different feeling that you
yeah. Well, it was during the day. It were around about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it felt like the other side came. It entered our, as people say, dimension, and it felt like someone was holding my left arm but holding my right hand at the exact same time, and I felt like I was being lifted in midair, even though I was flat on the floor.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, something's going on here.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a curious thing, isn't it? I don't know about you, but or anybody else that's watching and listening in at the moment, I experience all kinds of different things at different times, and I'm only sort of now, more recently, beginning to realize it for what it is. And it's I have to stop afterwards. As soon as I've experienced something and I think, what on earth was that all about? And then I have to stop and think about it. Or not think about it, but just kind of almost meditate on it. You know, not sitting there sort of like that with my eyes shut or anything. I sit in silence for a moment or two, and I just allow whatever thoughts, feelings that I'm having surrounding that particular experience come through. And then quite quickly I see that experience for what it was. And I have to say, thankfully, for the most part, excuse me, they've been positive experiences, you know, good experiences. I've had a few, however, that have been not so great. And this is where the negative energy comes in. Yeah. I didn't want to get onto the negative energy, but I'm being guided, so it's obviously an important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
The negative energy, we have to be just as aware of the negative energy as we do of the positive. If not more so in some respects, because that negative energy is giving us a message. Okay. Yeah. First and foremost, it's about protecting ourselves in whatever form that takes place, that takes shape. Okay. I've always been brought up to believe that each of us have a doorkeeper or guardian angel, a positive energy source that is there throughout our lives to guide us and protect us. But sometimes we have to ask for that protection and guidance.
Yeah.
Just to sort of reinforce it. We also, again, I've been brought up to believe that we also have spirit guides, and they can change over time, as can our doorkeepers, you know, but more often than not, we're assigned a doorkeeper from birth, and that doorkeeper will be with us for the rest of our existence in the human realm. So, you know, those negative experiences, on one or two occasions, they've been quite scary, you know. But if we know how to ask, all we have to do is ask for protection. That's all we have to do. We don't have to say it out loud. We just have to say the words in our head.
Yeah. For people that don't know, explain what a doorkeeper actually is.
It's like a guardian angel.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me explain.
Yes.
So, okay. My dad, for much of his adult life, has been going along to a spiritual mediumship circle quite regularly, and we're going back many years now, when in the early days, so before I was even thought of. Back to I'd been born. Sorry, I'll get the story straight in a minute. So, and he was in circle, and he got shown something. Okay, now I'll come back to that in a minute, because there's a more recent story that's linked to that particular occasion. When my mum passed just over 5 years ago, we had the usual appointments with the registrar, and you know, we had to go in and see the funeral directors to make appropriate arrangements.
Yeah.
So there was myself, my brother, my dad, and we were asked, did any of us want to stand up and say something at the service, whatever it was going to be, at the crematorium? And we each of us said no. A couple of days later, I was sitting at home, and all of a sudden I had a whole load of words come into my head, and I sat there and I thought, oh, great. I'm going to have to stand and say something, aren't I? Right, okay then. So I phoned my dad and told him what had happened. And I said, you know, is that okay with you? And he said, yes. He said, it's absolutely fine with me. He said, I just knew that it wasn't for me to do. Okay. It's like, right, thanks very much. But I also told him something else that I'd experienced just before phoning him as well, because every time I was closing my eyes, I saw myself quite clearly standing at the front of the room in the crematorium, with my hands on the lectern, reading the eulogy, and I was standing there rocking to and fro. And no matter how hard I tried in that vision, in my mind, I could not stop myself from rocking to and fro. I'd open my eyes and think, what on earth am I doing? Then as soon as I closed my eyes again, I got the same thing. And I was explaining this to my dad. So then he told me this story. So we're going back now to this particular occasion where he'd gone to this medium circle. And he was shown, well, he told me a story, first of all. Sorry. He told me that when he was a young boy, he'd occasionally sit there on the floor with his legs crossed, arms around his knees, doing this, rocking to and fro.
Yeah.
Okay. For no reason at all. You know, he wasn't going loopy or anything, but he was just rocking to and fro. And he used to get a clout around the ear hole from his dad. My dad's words, not mine. Tell him to stop it, pack it in. There's no room for weirdos in the house. So anyway, years later, he went to this particular meeting, this circle meeting, and he was shown a Chinaman with the hat, you know, the triangular hat, and this Chinaman was sitting on a crate at a dock, and he was looking at my dad, and my dad said to him, you know, do I know you? And the guy just grinned at him and started rocking to and fro. Okay. So my dad later then found out after obviously asking a few questions that this particular Chinaman had been my dad's doorkeeper when my dad was a young boy. And that this Chinaman was now my doorkeeper. Okay. So this doorkeeper basically looks over you, looks after you, guides you, protects you. And quite clearly, every time I'd closed my eyes and had this vision of me standing there holding onto the lectern, rocking to and fro like this, my guardian angel was with me, looking after me. Okay. And it's, I mean, I know to a lot of people it's going to sound really, really far-fetched. And, the response is going to be one of, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But, for those of us that do believe in this stuff, it's very real.
Exactly. And as well, your doorkeeper don't have to be a human. It can be an animal.
Yeah. Well, an animal would be a spirit guide. A spirit animal would be a spirit guide. I know that I've got a North American Indian with me at the moment. Okay. He and I met in a meditation one evening last week. Very tall, proud man with the full Indian headdress, with the feathers and everything. Yeah. Quite fantastic, actually. But we've met, so I know that he's with me right now, and I know that when I'm connecting and when everything is when everything's connecting, when I know that I know that they're there because I'm feeling it now. I get that like a real kind of tingling sensation is the only way that I can describe it. It's like a gentle surge of energy right deep inside of me.
Yeah.
So it's, how do we explain it? I think as humans, we don't have the words to explain it. It's a feeling, it's a sensation. And that's what we are. We're feeling beings because we are energy. We're living in these carcasses, these, what do you want to call them? We're like a mode of transport, aren't we?
We are.
But yeah. But that was kind of like one wow experience for me. And I mean, don't get me wrong. When I first found out about it all, when I was told about it, I was in my early teens and I was absolutely fascinated with it. I mean, I had experiences prior to that I couldn't explain, but didn't bother me. But then I got to a point, I think probably during my 30s, I started questioning everything, absolutely everything, including all of that, and I almost became a cynic.
Okay.
But it's quite a profound thing.
Yeah,
it's quite a profound thing, and I have to say that that doesn't make me a religious person. I don't go to church. I don't follow any particular religion or faith in that sense. But I simply believe that we're here to live good and decent lives. That we're here to learn certain things.
Yeah, definitely learn things, but also to deliver a specific message as well.
We have a purpose, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. So,
what's your purpose then, Kerry?
My purpose is, I mean, I have a message.
We all do.
We all have a message to deliver. And my purpose is to deliver that message and to help as many people as I possibly can whilst I'm here, you know. And I've always known that.
But even then, even when we do pass away, our message still lives on.
But we're not passing away, really, are we? I mean,
Well,
I know
you know
we
what I
use
mean.
that phrase. We're passing on. We're moving on to the next level of our journey, the next step of our journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I'm just having a look back through.
I know. I'm looking at Laurie's comment. It's very. I remembering crashing a funeral for my grandmother because they were not respecting her funeral because she wanted to be buried instead of cremated. Her voice spoke to me clearly inside my soul, saying, "Please save me." So I did exactly that, and what she spoke that I could only hear. That's powerful.
Very.
Yes.
Yeah, very. Funerals are a curious thing. It's very rarely that they're actually for our dear departed. It's more often the case that they are for us, those who are still left, you know, who have been left behind. And when my mum passed, she hadn't left any specific instructions for as far as her funeral went. But we knew from when she'd helped arrange her own mum's funeral a few years previously that there were certain things that she liked and felt quite strongly about. So we honoured those. We honoured those things. But we also, my brother, my dad, and myself were absolutely adamant that it shouldn't be a somber occasion, that it should be a celebration of her life.
Yes.
You know, and they were the words that were coming through to me. And I was remembering stories and different occasions. And it was, I didn't want to make this about my mum's funeral. But it's the most recent big thing, I suppose, big event that's coming to my mind with regards to all of this spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And what was really wonderful about all of this was I was feeling very nervous before getting up on the platform to speak to everybody, and the room was full. And it sounds a bit crazy about being nervous, I know, because everybody in the room I know. You know, family and friends, it was just almost a bit crazy. But I guess at that time I wasn't used to standing up, or at least I hadn't been used to standing in front of a crowd of people on my own and speaking for a very, very long time. So that had kind of hidden itself well and truly. But as I say, I was feeling very nervous, and I remember my mouth being dry, and I could feel my heart banging in my chest. And I stood there and I just took a deep breath, and I'd got it all printed out because I had to read. There's no way I was going to remember it all. And I just started reading through it slowly and clearly. And literally within seconds, I suddenly felt very calm. And much later, so at the end of the wake, there was a lady who'd come along to the funeral, a lovely, lovely old Italian lady by the name of Yoli. And she'd been a clairvoyant medium for much of her life. She's passed since then. And it was her house where they used to hold the mediumship circle that my dad used to attend. And I hadn't spoken to Yoli. I hadn't had the opportunity to speak to her throughout the whole event that day. So I went over to her and said hello. And she said, you know, how well I'd done with standing in front of everybody and speaking, and what lovely words, and et cetera, et cetera. And she said, and you had this beautiful golden glow aura around you. And I was like, wow. And I felt the tingling sensations starting again inside me. And she said, and your mum was stood behind you, just behind your right shoulder, looking at you and smiling. She said, she's very proud of you. And I was like, wow, you know. And she also said, you know, but she's a young woman, a young, healthy woman, dressed in this beautiful white lacy dress. Well, what we hadn't told anybody was that the funeral directors had asked us to take some clothes in that they could dress her in. Not that she was going to be, nobody was going to be going to visit her, well, you know, before the funeral. So we'd had a discussion, my dad, my brother and I, and we agreed that we should dress her in her wedding dress, because had she made it another 2 weeks, it would have been my mum and dad's golden wedding anniversary. Been married for 50 years. So we took my mum's wedding dress along, and they dressed her in that, and we hadn't told another soul. So, you know, and that again was confirmation for me. Every time it's confirmation, you know, and it doesn't, I think it doesn't matter how much you believe, still things like that is still absolute proof. It's confirmation.
Yes.
That what you believe is true.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've done a lot of talking about my own personal experiences here. Your turn.
Oh, great. What do you want to know? Because I've had a lot of experiences with spirits.
Okay.
A lot. And majority of them have actually been bad. Where, now, obviously, like I stated the other day, I believe there's both angels and demons out there. I do 100%. But I remember living at my abusive house, parents' house, and a couple of things have happened where I fell asleep fine, and I woke up, I had this big knife mark across my stomach. Another one was I was what, about 13 years old, 14, and I was the only one in the house watching a film. I think I was watching a horror film. I don't know, and I heard this big shutter, like something was being thrown down the steps right behind me. So I looked, and nothing was there. So yeah. So clearly it's all been negative. Or maybe someone trying to talk.
I wouldn't say it's all been negative, because I can guarantee you will have had some positive experiences as well. You won't necessarily have recognised them.
Well, I'm never going to do it again, but about 5-6 years ago in our old house, me and Kerry actually did do the Ouija board. No, and the experience from it was fascinating, because Kerry's, I don't even know how many greats, but her granddad came through who died on D-Day. He came through and he tapped me on the shoulder. And then obviously a couple of days after that, bright day, everyone was downstairs. I went upstairs to go and get something in my bedroom, and as soon in the doorway where I was stood, I saw this figure in the bedroom, and it was plain black figure, and he literally come right at me, right through me, and it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, I mean that particular occasion is that's not necessarily a bad experience or a negative experience. I have to say that I dabbled with a Ouija board once with a group of school friends, one lunchtime at a friend's house, and as we were due to leave, we were in the kitchen. We were about to walk out of the kitchen. All the windows were shut, all the doors were shut, and a glass on the side literally flew across the kitchen and smashed against the wall. And we ran out of the house. My friend, she wouldn't go in until her mum had got home from work. So that's the one and only experience I've had, and it's kind of put me off ever since.
Yeah, well, in this same house, it was sunny as well. The kitchen door kept slamming. We literally was just on our way to bed, and the living room telly turned itself back on. It seems they always do that.
It generally means that somebody's trying to get your attention.
Yes.
Yeah. And provided it's good energy, there's a reason for it. If it's not so good energy, then it's fine to ask them what their message is, but make it quite clear that it's they're disturbing you and you're not happy about it. So unless their message is important, to please leave you alone, leave you in peace, and send them off with love.
Yes.
Just reading through some messages here. Natalie, absolutely right. When we are young children, we are more in tune, but we are told that we are just imagining it, so we switch off. Absolutely.
I agree.
Richard, I had a well-fixed kitchen cupboard fall off the wall. Oops. Yeah. Natalie, Ouija board, not a good idea. You could be opening up the door to a malevolent spirit. They can appear as someone you loved.
Yeah.
Robert, they need better. Brilliant. Yes, they probably do.
I love Robert's comment.
Natalie, my favourite subject I have studied for 20 years. Oh my goodness, Natalie, you'll have to come on the show sometime.
Yes.
We'll have a conversation about that. Laurie, it was Queen Mary who spoke to me years later in a chilling voice, wouldn't let me sleep until I wrote a few poems to send to a special person that I had no idea later I would be writing about a serial killer on death row. Wow, that's really quite profound. That's a story.
You need to get Laurie on now.
Yeah, I think we do. Yeah. Kerry, last year we were sat in our bedroom and the room filled with the smell of freshly, I hope that means,
Kerry,
made toast. It was my nana. She loved toast and she made us aware she was there with us. Yeah, you see, wonderful things like that can happen. It can be just the tiniest little thing, a familiar scent, aroma, or it can be anything.
But the thing is, though, that I loved Kerry's nana. I really do. Huge respect to her. But when I'm actually chilling out and it were about 10 o'clock at night, I didn't want anything to eat because I knew I would have been up that night if I ate. And that smell made me hungry.
Obviously telling you you need to eat, have something.
But I ended up staying awake that night.
Oh.
Yeah, so bad timing. No, but there was another one as well where obviously we had Christmas decorations up and like paper chains, and even though it was warm in the house, the chains just kept rocking from side to side.
Yeah,
and it turned out as well that even though the time on the clocks were accurate, they kept changing. And we knew that was Kerry's granddad.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and this is. I don't know if I can see this as weird, but it's every time I'm in the shower, I keep getting a tap on the shoulder for about 2 minutes on my right shoulder, which turns out it's my grandparent because I smell smoke first.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, none of us smoke, but when we go upstairs, we smell
You
smoke.
can smell it. Yeah. 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 It's another fascinating area of all of this is reincarnation.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe that sometimes we can bring certain energies from certain experiences with us into this particular existence, or any existence. And sometimes, a lot of the time, they're things that we have agreed to come here and learn, overcome.
Yeah.
And I have a certain issue, which is really quite bizarre when I think about it. But then I'm thinking in human logic rather than any other way, I suppose. But talking about looking at reincarnation, I mean, my dad, as an example, he's absolutely petrified of water. He's never learnt to swim.
Okay.
He'll paddle in the sea. He's even come into a swimming pool with my brother and I when we were young children. But he never swam. He would never go out of his depth. And in actual fact, it was some relatives, a couple of relatives that came in with us and actually taught my brother and I to swim in the end. But it turned out in a conversation with my dad that he discovered that in his previous life, he was a violinist on the Titanic.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would kind of explain why he's, got this issue with water.
All right, I'm just going off Richard's comment. He doesn't believe in reincarnation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, we're not here to sort of persuade
dispute.
people.
No.
They don't believe it. That's not what we're here for. It's merely something that we believe in.
Yeah. We've all got our views.
Of course, as there are a lot of people out there who believe in one God, and others who believe in all sorts of different. We all believe our own things, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
I mean, this is very interesting because we believe what we're taught. We believe what we're taught, and we believe what feels right to us.
Yeah.
And as Robert said, perhaps Richard is just doing a single tour. Perhaps Richard is a new soul, a new spirit. There is that.
I really do love Robert's comments.
No, I think this is brilliant. I absolutely think this is brilliant because we've got people here commenting, and we've got varying views, varying experiences, and this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And this is what I love about this whole existence, is the fact that, everybody is different. Everybody, has their, own opinions and beliefs about different things. And that's what makes us all unique. And I find it absolutely fascinating. Natalie, reincarnation does not sit well with me, especially people coming back as animals. I'm not sure about the animals thing either, to be perfectly honest with you, but I do believe that I've been here before, or I've had a human experience. When I say before, I'm talking about before this experience, but perhaps, who knows, that part of us exists in other parallel universes, and it's all
Yeah.
run, time is linear, you know.
See, we've all got our views. Now, just for example, which I don't really want to go into it because it'll go off topic. Kerry believes in evolution. I don't. I don't believe in evolution. But that's just my view.
Yeah.
There you go. But,
Yeah.
yeah. But going back to spiritual.
Yes.
I want to know, when was the first time you actually thought, I want to start getting into crystals?
I was in my mid to late 20s, I believe. It wasn't my first encounter with crystals.
Okay.
I had encountered crystals before, when I'd been and had I had a couple of tarot card readings.
Yes.
Well, yeah, somebody else had used rune stones, but each time I'd gone for these different readings, there were different crystals in the room. And it wasn't, and as I say, until my sort of mid 20s that I actually started getting involved with crystals. You know, they to begin with, you know, that they looked lovely, and I was like, yeah, these are really pretty. They're wonderful. You know, let's have a few of these. And then I started to learn about their energy properties, and you know, the different things that they can be used for. Natalie's saying that she uses crystals for therapy on her clients. I started learning about that.
Yeah.
You know, and so something that I got into quite heavily. I mean, so many different crystals out there for different things that, you know, I can't possibly remember all of them. But even as we're speaking, I've got a selection of crystals on my windowsill just behind my laptop here.
You've got one with you, haven't you?
Eh?
You got one with you, don't you? Wearing one.
Well, yeah. This is. I can't remember what this is actually. It's
Cyanite, is it?
No, I can't remember. See, that's the thing. I can't remember what it is, but it's great. I mean, the other thing that I also have is shungite.
That's it.
Yeah, which is great for protecting you from the harmful electromagnetic energies, fields.
I prefer rose quartz.
Rose quartz is brilliant.
It is.
Rose quartz is really brilliant. But say shungite is great because it helps take all the impurities, the nasties out of your environment. So I've got a piece in here. I've got a piece sitting just by my TV because the internet router sits behind it. And I'm
just getting bugged here. Sorry.
Yeah, I have one on a cord that I'll wear when I go out, and it can be really quite powerful stuff.
Yes, you must cleanse and also program them to how you want them to work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Because they all work differently for everyone.
They will. You know, I mean, there's so many out there, and a lot of them are pretty good for very similar things. You know, I've got hematite, which I believe is supposed to be pretty good for grounding. But I've also got bloodstone, which is also very good for grounding. So I can use either when I'm meditating. I can use either. I'll hold on to either. I've also got a selenite, I think it is, which is supposed to be really good for when you're meditating as well. So I'll have either the bloodstone or the hematite in one hand and the selenite in the other hand whilst I'm meditating. Natalie, she puts hers in salt overnight and energizes them with the moon. I love that. I've had this affinity with the moon, this connection with the moon for as long as I can remember. And I have always believed that the purest way to cleanse crystals is in moonlight, direct moonlight.
I agree.
And it's always worked for me. So I love that. I love that. But salt as well. I get that. Soak up all the negative from it.
I agree.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think Robert, I love Robert's comments here. I love the energy of the internet. Oh, that's fantastic.
Laurie's got a pendulum.
I have 3 pendulums. I have 3 pendulums.
I've actually never looked into what a pendulum actually is or represents. Never.
Give me a second. It's generally you use it for dowsing. Right, I'm going to show you my favourite. It's amethyst. Okay, they're not always that shape. They can be a different shape, but that's my amethyst. It's I think it's more of it's almost a smoky amethyst. But that's my favourite one, and you use it for dowsing as long as you've got to establish which way it's going to swing for yes and which way it's going to swing for no.
Right.
Interestingly, I've been doing dowsing for years, absolutely years. So of course, with the questions that you're asking, that they've got to be direct questions that can give you a yes or no answer. And it's this one. I got this one when I was studying for doing when I was studying and training for master NLP practitioner, coach, and all the rest of it. And but interestingly, when I was at a practitioner level, the one before, my trainer was talking about pendulums and dowsing. Yeah. And basically explaining to us that we should be asking our unconscious minds the questions. Okay. And I sat there and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, right. And I always, whenever I've dowsed, I've always done it with speaking to my doorkeeper and my spirit guides. Yeah. And it's quite fantastic as to how strong the energy is. And to begin with, in the early days when I was doing it, I was looking at it and I'm thinking, it's got to be me moving it. But then I realised that actually my hand, my arm was as still as I could possibly make it. Of course, there's an energy flow, and I don't know what the answer is going to be, whether it's yes or no. And so one day I thought, right, I want some absolute proof that what I'm doing is correct and that this is actually genuine. So with a friend's permission, we sat at her house and I said, okay, so ask a question that only you know the answer to. I said, it's got to be a question that I don't know the answer to. So basically, she asked the question. Well, she asked a few questions, but it was based around the colour of her very first car. Now, I didn't know her when she at that particular point in time when she had her first car. So we went through a whole series of questions. Was the colour of my first car red? That came back no. Was the colour of my first car blue? That came back no. Was the colour of my first car yellow? We went through a whole series of colours until we got to was the colour of my first car silver, and it came back yes. And she sat there and she looked at me and she was like, wow, that's amazing. So, and as I say, I didn't know the answer to that question because I didn't know her when she was first driving. So, you know, it's a fascinating area. Laurie, a healing wheel. I still have so much to learn. And yeah, cleaning your home in every corner with sage is great for getting rid of negative energies. I'm actually in the process of decluttering mine at the moment. That also kind of helps the energy to flow as well. So pendulum doesn't want to spell it right. Bless. But yeah.
You're going to do a lot of research after this, aren't you?
I love it. I think it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I get it. There are people out there that don't believe it.
No.
But then explain my experiences. Explain your experiences.
Yeah, exactly. We have all got our own experiences.
Yeah.
We all do.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah, we're definitely going to have to get Laurie and Natalie onto the show, I think, at some point very soon.
I agree.
And yeah, absolutely. Right. I think we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. So instead of actually boring people even further, Adam, what's coming up next?
Tomorrow, 8 p.m, Straight Sane and Sober with Dale Walsh. And the guest is...
I'm looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that.
I know. Get your story out there even more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it'd be lovely chatting with Dale.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, fantastic. So one last thing to say, Adam. Any messages at all that you have for people?
Definitely look into spirituality. And if you don't agree with it after that, that's okay. But spiritual health, it exists. It's real. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just it's just about being aware, I think. Being aware, being mindful, living in the now, and being aware of what's going on right now. You know, and noticing. People talk about intuition, and most people will recognize the phrase gut feeling.
Yes, right. I'm going off Kerry's comment here. Right. Yeah. Now because there's a Rainbow Women's group only for women, people want to know, should I set up a group just for men and have it as a safe space for men? Because men are just as victims as women.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we don't all of us feel comfortable talking about certain things in front of anybody and everybody. So I think it's just as important to have a group for men as it is for women.
Yeah.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout.
I can look
right. On that note, thank you everybody for joining us today. We've had some amazing comments and fascinating conversation there. And as I say, it's not everybody's going to believe all of this, you know. It's just how we explain our own personal experiences and what feels right to us. Yeah. So, you know, we're not here preaching to everybody and saying you must believe in this. That's not what we're about. No. It's about going with your own gut instinct, whatever feels right for you. As long as it's good and it's not hurting you and it's not hurting anybody else, then all is good in the world. Wishing you a wonderful Monday, a fantastic week. Thank you, Adam, for joining me this morning. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. And we will see you soon. Take care.
Bye.